Justice League of America issue 3, Steve Orlando writing, and oh god, Diogenes?
Diogenes.
Diogenes?
Uh huh.
Are you do you know that, or are you just sort of making a...
I've heard it said
Oh,
before.
sure, cool, right, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we've got an informed mind.
Yeah.
Diogenes Neves on the art.
Hmm.
What's his name off art on this already?
Ivan Reis.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's double shipping though. It could just be swapping
Yeah.
like some of the other
that's
books.
true.
Because I mean, some of them have done really well at Batman, where they've kept them to full arcs before swapping, but some of them haven't. Some of them have been
Yeah,
just
yeah, that's true.
so. It could just be that. Uh, but yeah, so this is the third issue. The extremists and that are have taken over this country. During this issue, they take over more around it. They get other countries around the border. I think Kravia is the one they're in.
Yep.
They sort of convince the neighbours to sort of join this pact. The Justice League...
Convince or threaten? More like threaten.
Fake news. They they convince the others around them. The Justice League, or I should say the JLA specifically, sort of like try and help some of the freedom fighters that are kicking around, and they each sort of split up and attack different sort of the henchmen that we've seen in the group to try and weaken the ranks. But when they get there at the end to the main man, he's just kind of like, "Nah, I've got like 5 more countries. You're sure you've won a couple of street battles, but we are Legion."
You threw me off there a second because you said they got to the main man, and I thought, wait, they got to Lobo.
Lobo,
Oh yeah,
just like
okay.
it.
That was a poor phrase
That's
to use
Lord Havoc.
when Lobo's
Yeah.
in the book. Yeah, I'm talking about Havoc.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what have I missed in this?
It's kind
Yeah.
of like Eisenhower's domino theory in work. Like you have to stop the one before it spreads to the others, or they'll all fall like dominoes.
Do you know what? I didn't intentionally mean to use that phrase. I think it's maybe a subconscious thing where because I read the main man a couple of times in the issue that I had it in my head, so I used that as a natural phrase to just mean the head honcho. This was kind of consistent with the last couple, and by that I mean it was like okay.
They need to fix this if they want me to keep reading it, because I have hope for this team. I'm over the extremists. I'm over them getting involved
Matt, to be
in
fair,
other countries.
saying you're over them implies that we were ever on board with them, and I don't think we were.
At the beginning I was, because I wanted to see how this was going to play against Batman and this team of of new heroes, right? Like
It's because
Rain.
Joe, the problem is they're not actually giving them time to. Because you could keep this plot right, but actually have them debate in between things. It feels like most of the issues are them just fighting the villains. There's very little like downtime where they're actually discussing what to do,
right.
or playing off each other or anything like that. So the whole like dynamic that sounds interesting from this wacky team of like misfits hasn't really been a benefit yet, because I've not really been utilising it. It's been mostly just there's villains, let's go fight them.
Yeah. And I feel like that's not the best approach, like
It's not. I mean, because it's like it's not terrible. It's not like, oh my god, this is hard to read. It's not any of that. It's just generic.
well, I don't want to read it. It's not like one of those things where I'm like, oh yay, you're going back to Kravia. Cool. And I was really into the Rebirth issues that we got. Those were all
As was I.
really good. And because they took that time for the characters, and now you're just throwing them in with these kind of disposable villains who don't, outside of Deathbat, I don't know any of their names besides Lord Havoc. Like
Yeah, because he's the leader and he's the one that's actually named a lot.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, obviously we did like the Rebirth issues for the most part, so we're actually really in. I mean, they get enough credit that I'm going to stick around till the next arc and see how it develops.
well that's always I always give something like this an arc to go before I drop
yeah.
it. But
I think here especially because we did like those Rebirthers, and that was Orlando, and that did make those characters seem interesting to us. That like I'm hopefully can turn it around, and it just feels like, I don't know, this was such a weird story to start with for the first arc.
Yep.
It's such a weird one to start with. I don't understand the thinking. Start with a smaller story and build. As Batman Begins, you don't do the Joker in the first goddamn issue. You set up Batman, let him feel like Batman first, and then introduce the main threat. Not that this feels like the main threat, but you know what I mean. Same escalation. You want escalation to
I
this.
just, yeah, it's such a weird story. If you wanted a Justice League of the people, and now you're fighting, the spread of Lord Havoc's ideals.
Because they're fighting this big alien sort of menace, or alternate universe menace, whatever you want to call them. Like, I feel like at least their first story, if they're the Justice League of the People, should be the sort of threat that maybe Green Arrow would typically try and deal with.
Or like you do like Manchester Black in What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way. Where they say they're of the people, but they're really not. They don't speak for everybody, but they think about it. Like you do this false populism kind of deal, especially what's going on here right now, and that's like the buzzword. Like you could have done that type of story and then lead to this, which is the natural escalation. What do you do when it's a sovereign country that's doing this? That none of these heroes really have any part of. So, yeah, it's just weird.
I like them going and helping another country that's like more obscure, not one that most people will know or think about. Like I like that. I like the idea that the heroes are for everyone. They're not just for like
but
the West.
But again, you know what'd been cool? You make it Markovia, and you enter, the Markovian royal family, and they're the ones.
Oh, sure.
Do you know what's kind of weird now that you mention it? Obviously, this is the team dealing with these international incidents like this. The point is that they're not just for the West, like you just said. They're for all these places.
I know exactly where you're going with this sentence.
Exactly.
Continue.
Yeah, this is the Justice League of America book. It's so kind of backwards, isn't it?
Yeah, this should be Justice League International. What they should do is cancel Hitch's book, rename that JLA with a new writer, make it the flagship Justice League book if you want to have one. You don't necessarily need one, but if you want to have one, do that with that, and then have this be called JLI or
even this one just being just Justice League.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would work too. Yeah, that's a good point.
That was it being America, given the topics that it's dealing with.
Well,
it seems kind of strange.
You could have started it here and then built to this, like Pete was saying earlier, like this being the first story out the gate, and you have a living embodiment of light and an alien on a human team. It's just
a way that you could have made it interesting is obviously they call themselves the Justice League of America. If they dealt with American threats first and then it had been, hang on, we need to represent more than just that. Maybe we should reevaluate and go to it then, rather than just start with that. It just feels strange.
It is really weird. I don't even mind this being the first big threat. It's just an arc where we just got to let the team grow, let them bond. Maybe let us understand why Lobo's on the team. That'd be a good thing. Like just all these things. Do that in the first arc because
and have Ryan Choi find his legs. Because I feel like he's just there. He really hasn't had a meaningful moment like some of the other ones have.
Yeah, Ray gets an okay moment in this one where he tries to convince the people that he's there to help them, kind of thing. He's like, I'm a human too. Like when he's trying to convince them, and that's an okay little moment. I think it's like I can see where the ideas are coming from. It's just this was such a weird one to start on, and it feels so generic to read because it is just these throwaway, generic looking villains, and like I'm just not invested in what's going on. It's a shame, but hopefully they can turn things around with the next arc and actually give us some team building. That'd be lovely. Slow down the pace.
Okay.
Slow down the pace.